Justice Rita Ofili-Ajumogobia, a former judge of the Federal High Court after corruption charges against her were struck out, was arrested by the EFCC at the court premises. Yes, it was dramatic because she was seen to try to escape from the EFCC, running back into the courthouse. Well, we're going to also be talking about what this drama means. I still have Adeni Kunu here in the studio with me, and of course joining us we have Stephen Agiode. He's a lawyer, member of the Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network Act. Thank you for joining us. Adeni Kunu, thank you for still staying with us. I'm going to start with you because this is your learned colleague, and this has to do with the Constitution. You were just showing me something in the Constitution before we started this conversation.
Yes.
She was tried, obviously, for, I think, a 6-count offense.
Yeah.
So the EFCC waits for her at the courthouse to arrest her.
Yeah. Did
the EFCC say exactly why she was being arrested?
Well, from the reports we hear in the public, they have not stated categorically. It's obvious, too, that it is possible that she has been arrested in relation to a crime. The crime with which she has been famously associated is that of corruption. So one presumes that whatever she's been arrested for relates also to corruption.
But the case that she was being tried was also, it had corruption to it, and illegal receipt of some funds.
Yes.
But that case has been thrown out.
Yes.
So one would wonder, why is EFCC on this matter, or are there new charges? But you did make reference to something in the Constitution. Yes. I want you to read it and interpret it to me. What exactly does that have to do with this case?
Okay. So the provision in the Constitution is in section 36 of the Constitution, subsection 9. And it says, no person who shows that he has been tried by any court of competent jurisdiction or tribunal for a criminal offense, and either convicted or acquitted, shall again be tried for that offense, or for a criminal offense having the same ingredient as that offense, save upon the order of a superior court. What this really means is the EFCC might be swinging a weak wicket. This woman, the Honorable Judge, has been tried already in a full trial. I am sure it was not a summary trial. It was a full trial in which first of all, in any trial, you are presumed innocent
until proven guilty.
Until you're proven guilty. So the prosecution had their day in court. They had their day in court, the time to prove the charges. They did go on and try to prove the charges, and they failed. And that should be the end of the matter, really. If they bring a charge against the Honorable Judge, I'm sure she's not retired yet, she's still serving. If they bring a charge against her, they will be faced with a defense based on this section of the Constitution.
Okay, let's put a pin on that. Adeni Kunu, I mean, you are also my own colleague in this job. Even though we do not know how to interpret the Constitution, but we can see how these things are played. Exactly. Now, for what happened outside the courthouse, the fact that she had to run back inside the courthouse, and all of the English that we're speaking right now, could there be more than meets the eye on this particular matter?
Well, perhaps there is. Or there are several things that more than meets the eyes. Let me say here that Justice Ajumogobia is dismissed already. So in the capacity as a judge in the country, she doesn't hold sway any longer.
No, not anymore.
So that is established. Now we go to the second level. Justice Akim Oshodi, as my friend rightly said, it was a full trial and the case was struck out. And on what grounds would you strike out a case? Basically, courts deal with evidence. So perhaps all of what they alleged she had done could not be proved, and they had to throw their case out. The same way they threw out that of Justice Walter Onagin. And they said it's a no-case submission. Having said that, I think that the EFCC, as a body, must really try these days not to be seen as doing the bidding of perhaps the employer. The employer should be the citizens. The employer should be the federal government.
We the people.
But it appears as if they are doing the bidding of a certain man or a certain group of persons. If at all you have anything that would make you arrest somebody again, you provide a warrant. The news story didn't tell us that they provided a warrant. In fact, for Justice Ajumogobia to have actually run, or Judge Ajumogobia, the former legal supremo, to have run back into the office of Justice Akim Oshodi, it tells us that even the approach was very disrespectful. If you are to arrest any criminal, no matter how dastardly the act committed had been, there is a measure of control that you take. Let me tell you this, for instance.
I'm sorry, Adenikuno, do you live in Mars? I can't remember.
I'm saying
even
that
when our law enforcement agents want to apprehend someone they presume is guilty, they do not do that.
They lack knowledge of what their job entails.
So,
let me say this. I remember very well that when Fayose was to round off his term, the EFCC put a tweet that they were coming for him. That is indicative of self-serving and unprofessional approach to things. An independent body doesn't have to say that. It's tenure hadn't rounded off. You don't even need to put a tweet. It is indeed one of the most simplistic things that any government agency should do. And indeed they did that and gave themselves up as those doing the bidding of the employer. I remember even leading up to the elections where the campaigns were on, the acting EFCC boss, Ibrahim Mago, had to put a brooch on his shirt that has a picture of President Buhari like campaigning. These people lack understanding of the expectations and the demands that their offices even place upon their shoulders. So if you look at Ajumogobia, for instance, it's a very wrong footing for the EFCC, because no matter what happens, Justice Ajumogobia had been rounded off with a matter. If at all there's a fresh case against her, you bring your warrants and everything. Maybe I was wrong in what I said, but you could put me right. But I know that if you must arrest anybody, there's a warrant that you must provide. And if the case has to go to court, then you quickly file what you have to file, because this, to me, is actually legal. It is privileged recklessness on their part.
I just, before you go into that, talking about the EFCC again and law enforcement in this country, in 2018 alone, EFCC lost about 27 cases. They were just all thrown out of the court because either the judges said it lacked merit, or they did not get enough evidence. But now that you're saying that the EFCC boss at some point was seen to be leaning towards the presidency, does that in any way make a mess of the fact that maybe they have a tip or information on a person or a crime? Does that in any way make rubbish of what they do?
Okay, first of all, let me continue from where he left off. The important thing to note is that there are many places where you can arrest a person. It should not be the court. Okay. This is a judge, a former judge of the Federal High Court, an important person in society. One would have thought the EFCC would at least let her leave the court premises. I happen to think it is disrespectful of the court for you to do what the EFCC has done in this case. They should have allowed her to. I mean, she could go out of the court. They know where she lives. They could tell her. They could go to her home and arrest her in a responsible manner. I think it's irresponsible of EFCC to do what they have done. I think it's very irresponsible. It is a throwback to the military era where I remember as a young lawyer witnessing Gani being dragged shamefully just after he was granted bail by the transition to civil rule tribunal. Those things should be in our past. We are not in military rule. They should just have traded at home. So
with all of the mistakes, I go back to my question, with all of the mistakes that were recorded by the EFCC, does it make rubbish or nonsense of whatever it is, especially if they have valid reasons for coming after a person? Would they always have to deal with the fact that we're saying, oh, it's a witch hunt, oh, it's a very dictatorship kind of style of government, even when somebody is glaringly guilty?
Okay, let me point out one simple fact here. Why did the EFCC lose this case? It's simple to see. It's because of the case of Nganjiwa versus FRN. What does that case decide? This case decides simply that where a judicial officer is being tried for a crime, the first place you must report him to is the Nigerian Judicial Council, NJC. You must first make a report there. They first have disciplinary jurisdiction over judges. That it is only after you do that that the proceedings there are
But
done.
Nigerians have also made a case, especially in the case of Onogan, that did he make a mistake, or was he actually guilty? Did he not put out certain details? Yes or no? Yes. But the modus operandi was not necessarily correct. Does that make that case that the EFCC or the CCB have against him null and void?
You see.
If a person commits a crime and my approach to arresting you or arraigning you is wrong, I know that, I do not know how it works in Nigeria, but I know that in America you have to Mirandize a person properly before you take the person away.
The law.
And if you don't, the judge has a right to kick out that case.
I feel that we really practice law very wrongly in this part of the world, and not all the lawyers, but many people are taking very negative.
He's not having that. He's not having that.
No, I'm saying that. Okay, let me put it this way.
He's not having any of it.
No, let me put it this way. I think the way some people engage in the legalese is not the right way. I think that perhaps may be better said. The reason I've said that is the EFCC has lawyers. The EFCC has lawyers. And lawyers definitely know that there are procedures towards initiating any kind of arrest. The reason why people employ lawyers, even if you have a very terrible case, is to guide you to take the right steps. So a situation where the EFCC that has lawyers, the EFCC that has police officers, even police officers understand what it entails to arrest somebody. But these groups of people that are supposed to be knowledgeable enough perhaps didn't inform them rightly, or maybe they did, but it just jettisoned or put that aside. Because the situation...
Isn't that reflective of the thuggish nature that our police force and our law enforcement agents have taken?
No, I disagree.
You have a right to disagree.
No, I disagree with actually what she's saying. You see, the point is this. Nganjiwa versus FRN was decided in the middle of Ajumogobia's case. It brought up a principle surprising to many of us lawyers. What the EFCC didn't do anything wrong, or apparently it seemed to be, at the time they were doing it, as at this way we knew law, what they did was right, the way they charged her, as we knew it, until that groundbreaking decision. What they could have done, seeing that this decision was also approved by the Court of Appeal, was to withdraw the charges in the middle of the trial and then come back again. You can have a second bite at the cherry. When you know, it's a new development. So I won't call them thuggish. I won't blame them. Things happen. Then, as to the second one...
But is it appropriate? Because in one breath we're saying they shouldn't have done it. In another breath we're saying, well, we really can't blame them. So what do we stand on this? You're saying the EFCC, they shouldn't have gone about it that way.
They were caught up in the middle of legal technicalities, and what they should have done is to withdraw and fight another day. I mean, it's quite common. It happens every day in court. When you find that you are heading towards a cul-de-sac, you come back. It's good legal.
Okay, in closing, because we have just 1 minute,
yes.
I think you can. Where do we go from here? Because we see a lot of zigzagging in the the way we carry out our legal proceedings, and even our policing systems today. Where do we go from here?
It has to do with really amending the ground norm of the country. The American Constitution has actually been amended so many times than I can count at the moment. That is the fundamental that has to be addressed. If at all, we must continue to resort to it as the guideline for us. That's one. Then I think that people must decide to make a country function. You've realized that many times when we talk about the problems with Nigeria, we often mention the fact that those who should know are not doing the right thing. The people that are causing this confusion are those who have gone to law school, those who have graduated, those who have been practicing, and they are the agents of this confusion. It means the elites are part of the integral problems of this country.
Stirring the pot.
And until we look at them in the eyes, or they look at themselves in the mirror and say, this is a terrible reflection of who you are, we ain't going nowhere.
He still seems to disagree with you,
Totally.
but I want to say, we have to go. I want to say thank you to you, Stephen Agiade. And another day, another time. We'll live to fight another day, just like the EFCC. Stephen Agiade, lawyer, member, Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network Act. Thank you very much for being here. And Adeni Kunu, a political analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
I appreciate the privilege.
It's been an interesting one. Well, we'll take a brief break, and when we come back, we will be taking My Take. Stay with us.
The governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima, has thrown his weight behind the aspiration of Senator Ahmed Lawan, who has been adopted by the All Progressive Congress as its candidate for the Senate President of the 9th National Assembly. Shettima, who is also a senator-elect, is from the same state with Senator Ali Ndume, who is also contesting the position. The governor, who addressed journalists in Abuja, said the people of his state are behind the aspiration of Lawan.
So I fully align myself with the aspirations of our party, with the aspirations of President Muhammadu Buhari, and by the grace of God, we are going to mobilize all our goodwill to see that we have fully come on board. We are for Senator Ahmed Lawan. We are for Femi Bajamiala. And all other senators and House of Reps members endorsed by the party. There has to be party discipline. That we are not at war with Senator Mohamed Ali Ndume. He is my kinsman. We will continue impressing on him to align himself with the aspirations of the party.
Senator Magnus Abe has formally announced an end to his governorship ambition. Senator Abe, who represents Rivers South East District, made the announcement at a stakeholders meeting attended by the APC faithful loyal to him.
There is every need, therefore, to begin the urgent, necessary, important, and inescapable task of putting the APC together in Rivers State. And it has to be done through the legitimate executives of the party. I wish to use this opportunity to call on the national leadership of the party to stop doing anything that will promote illegality, confusion, and problem in the APC in Rivers State. They should work with the decay. Let us begin to put things together.
Well, it's time for my take. Now, when I was growing up as a little girl, I used to hear my grandfather say, the law is supposed to be blind to all. In other words, it sees not rich, not poor, not young, not old. The law is the law. But then again, he did say, in today's world, the law has one eye open, so it sees the child of a rich man and that of a poor man, and so it services them differently. I did not necessarily understand what he meant at the time until today. How does the law work in Nigeria? What is our constitution all about? Is it supposed to be as sacrosanct as we want it to be? Or is it time for us to all join our heads together and say, you know what? It's time to make we the people work for us, the people. And we cannot do this if we're all divided along the lines of ethnicity, regionalism, you know, the whole division across the country. We must come together in one voice, as one country, and create a synergy so these politicians, these lawmakers, these leaders, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, can work for us. And we can have a constitution that serves all of us, black, white, yellow, green, northern, southern, western, whoever you are, because this Nigeria is our Nigeria. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely day.